I'm Mike Casey. I'm president and founder of TigerCom, and I'm also the co-host of Renewable Energy World's weekly news roundup, This Week in Clean Tech. I'm coming at you from the show floor at Distributech in Orlando, Florida, and I'm joined by William Goldsmith, who is the global head of grid services for ev.energy. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Tell you a little bit about William. He is, of course, an EV owner, and he's passionate about decarbonizing the energy system. His past experience includes working for National Grid to analyze EV's impact on the UK grid. So, William, first question. What are the secrets to building an EV virtual power plant?
So the thing with virtual power plants is it involves distributed flexibility. So the flexibility asset here is an electric vehicle, which is effectively a battery on wheels. But the person who owns that asset, rather than that being owned by a utility or an industrial company, it's owned by regular consumers. People just buy a car to get from A to B, but it's got this flexibility potential within the battery where when the car charges to when it discharges and you drive it, it can be disconnected and you can shift that energy around. So the fundamental key thing is really how you engage consumers and electric vehicle drivers into energy flexibility, where kind of traditionally these two sectors of transport and energy have previously not interconnected. So the first thing really there is creating a great value proposition for EV drivers. So financial incentives help a lot with that. But more than just the financial incentive, it's creating a proposition that's really simple to understand and to sign up. So really making the effort of participation very low and creating value to the customer by making the charging experience better and simpler. And also the financial incentive to get involved.
Interesting. Thank you. How does ev.energy connect the complex charging ecosystem?
So within the ecosystem, we've got electric vehicle OEMs producing the cars. We've then got the charging hardware around charger manufacturers, the EV driver themselves, and then the energy utility in the grid. And at ev.energy, we're a software platform that helps connect that ecosystem. So we integrate with charging hardware, both charge points and vehicles, and then we connect those vehicles with the energy system, integrating with utility DERMS platforms, flexibility markets, and doing energy trading, all while delivering a service to the electric vehicle driver.
Wow. Okay. What opportunities are utilities missing if they don't harness managed EV charging?
So the transition towards electric vehicles is really exciting for lots of reasons, but it's also a lot of new additional load coming onto the grid. So over the next decade, as we transition to electric transport, with most EVs, if you do not manage the charging, people come home, typically plug in their car around 6 p.m., which is the peak time on the grid. And the challenge is that will double, or add 50% to the peak electricity demand on the grid. And to build out enough network infrastructure to support that will cost billions and billions of dollars. Not just the costs, but actually the complexity. Being able to build that much infrastructure in the time period we're talking about is also incredibly challenging. So the key really with unlocking managed charging is we can reduce that peak demand by 50% through doing one-directional smart charging or active managed charging. And then if we can get around 25%, a quarter of people to upgrade from managed charging to bi-directional, where the vehicle is able to put power back onto the grid, then actually at these peak times, at net, EVs will be putting more power onto the grid than they're taking off, which really makes them the kind of ultimate grid asset.
That's really interesting. Okay. How quickly and reliably can EV virtual power plant respond to grid events?
So the key here really is around automation and quality of integrations. So when we operate our virtual power plant, we always put the mobility needs of the driver first, but within that, there's a lot of flexibility within the schedule. So what we find with the two different types of integrations we have, when we integrate with charge points directly using like the open charge point protocol, we can get response within 30 seconds, which is, super quick and comparable kind of to grid scale batteries. For vehicles and vehicle telematics, it's around 5 minutes, but still very valuable as a capacity resource on the grid.
It's fast. What has ev.energy learned from successfully deploying more than 40 managed charging programs around the world?
So what we've learned from deploying these 40 managed charging programs with utilities around the world is really the importance of engaging customers and creating that simple customer experience in order to get really high enrollment rates and drive volume. Once we've got that volume in the virtual power plant, really using automation and ensuring we're doing active managed charging helps unlock or helps to harness these vehicles in the virtual power plant. And then we're deploying lots of different use cases around the world. So whether that's helping prevent wildfires in California by turning down EV demand during flex alerts and summer heat waves, or that might be in storms in New York on like the coldest winter day, turning EV demand down. But with the increase in renewable generation, there's also huge opportunity to turn EV demand up, actually to soak up excess renewables on the grid. So it's really a resource that works in two ways. I guess what we're seeing when we kind of look around at the market today is only 4% of electric vehicles in the US are currently enrolled in a managed charging program. And when we're talking about this 50% increase in peak demand, if we don't have people doing managed charging, I think the key real message to utilities today is to start investing and working on this now so that we can learn and grow with EV adoption, and so we're ready for that change.
Wow. Last question. What advice would you give utilities, OEMs, and charger manufacturers that are developing their vehicle grid integration strategies now?
A key one is really thinking ahead and making sure that these strategies are future-proof. So when we talk about managed charging, we've broken it down into 5 stages, where we often start with a passive program where customers are managing their own charging and we're tracking it in the background. That creates a great entry point, which we can then kind of upgrade to the smart automated approach. And then what we're starting to do with some of our customers is layer in interaction with other home energy assets, so with solar smart charging, aligning EV charging with home solar PV generation. And then bidirectional charging, as I said previously, is another kind of emerging technology that has an important place to play, an important segment within the managed charging landscape.
Fascinating stuff. William Goldsmith with ev.energy. Thank you for coming on. Hope you're having a good show at Distributech.
Great. Thank you very much.